Okie doke. We're getting into this story here about Anna Kasparian and the fate of TYT. It's been a long time since I've discussed TYT on this show because the buffoonery was just too much for me to even like discuss or entertain anymore. But recently, Anna Kasparian has come forward and has acknowledged or admitted that she has officially left the left. Now, some of this has to do with some of the criticism that she has received from other leftists, some who were actually TYT affiliate hosts, and people who have actually worked at TYT as well. So she's received a lot of pushback, particularly on social media. And I think that she is very flustered by a lot of this. There have also been criticism of TYT more recently because they have chosen to interview right-wing people on the show, like Matt Gaetz, for example. There's been criticism there as well. Now, we're going to start with this tweet from Cenk Uygur. So he tweeted, "Come on, let's have fun. Let's settle this once and for all. I want all the factions against me to meet and mingle in the comments section. Let's finally figure this thing out. Which one of these things am I?" So in order to see the results, I have to click on one of these. I'm not going to say, I think he's just establishment shill. Okay, look at the poll results. 45,756 people voted for this poll. 40% said that he's establishment shill. 35.4% said that he's progressive. 14.6% radical leftist and 10% right winger. This is a problem for TYT. The majority of people are seeing that they are now connected to establishment. And obviously, some of us acknowledged this a couple of years ago when they decided to take that $20 million from Jeffrey Katzenberg. Things did change. And I don't consider TYT to be left today. I didn't consider them to be left last year either. But a long time ago, they actually were. And you watch them change like over the years, especially after they got that money. But this is something very telling about Cenk. This is about him, because he's also getting the same criticism. Now, we're going to go to this interview that Anna Kasparian had on the Sitch and Adams show. And I want you to hear what she says in reference to the left. And I want us to think about something for a second. Two things. Number one, is Anna Kasparian correct that the left has a cult-like mentality? And two, is Anna serious about this? Or is this just another, I don't know, reason for her to seek out attention? Think about those two things. I have a lot to say here. Let's go ahead and get into this video.
Because I think that there are some stereotypes that the left has kind of bought into about what the arguments are on the other side. And, you know, it doesn't make us sharper to misrepresent what the other side is actually saying. It actually makes us weaker. It is what it is. And they can get as offended as they want. They can get as upset as they want. I don't really care. I'm not a mouthpiece for anyone, any political party, any political group. My obligation is to share the facts of the story with my audience to the best of my ability, and then do good faith analysis on those.
So that's right out the gate. That's a lie. She is a mouthpiece for the Democratic Party. The entire message that is preached on TYT, or has been preached for the past couple of years, is pushing progressives in the Democratic Party. So yes, you are a mouthpiece for a certain political faction, Anna Kasparian, and so is Cenk Uygur. That's the whole point of the show. So right out the gate, she's already lying. TYT is not breaking points. TYT is not the Kim Iverson show. You see what I'm saying? TYT is not rising. where you do have two different, where you have someone who represents the leftist ideology, and you have another host who represents the conservative, or what we would call like the right-wing populist ideology. That's not TYT. TYT is a progressive, it's supposed to be progressive show that is push progressive candidates, is supposed to mobilize progressive people into the Democratic Party with the hopes of reforming the Democratic Party. That's what TYT is. Cenk Uygur co-founded Justice Democrats with Kyle Kulinski. That brand became a part of TYT. So she's already lying right out the gate. Let's go back in.
Stories. And if they don't like my analysis, they can make whatever decision they want about whether they support or watch the show. You know, one of the things that Jesse Singles says all the time that I love, and he says it repeatedly, is it's complicated, because it is. Like, all of these issues are way more complicated than the way they're being portrayed in partisan media. And so what I want to do is actually understand those complexities. But here's the other thing: understand the other side in good faith. Okay.
You are partisan media. She talks about this as though she's not, and she is.
Because I think that there are some stereotypes that the left has kind of bought into about what the arguments are on the other side. And, you know, it doesn't make us sharper to misrepresent what the other side is actually saying. It actually makes us weaker. If you understand what their arguments are, it'll then allow you to reflect on what your own weaknesses might be in regard to the arguments that you're making. And so, right. And then one other thing, and this was an unexpected.
We'll just pause here for just a second. You know, this is very telling to me, because this is the same type of statement that people like Kim Iverson have made before, that Jimmy Dore has made before, that you got to talk to people on both sides. But when they have made those statements, more so particularly Jimmy Dore, it is people like Anna Kasparian and Cenk Uygur who have continued to smear Jimmy Dore over the past couple of years. You know, they had a problem when he said those things. Even Cenk went as far as calling Brianna Joy Gray a fake leftist or whatever. They have a problem when anyone says it except for TYT, and I'm going to tell you why. We've been talking about gatekeepers on this show for the past 2 weeks. There's been 2 or 3 stories about gatekeeping. When it comes to independent media, I told you there are gatekeepers in independent media as well. In left independent media, TYT has been a gatekeeper. Let me explain to you how it works. Because TYT, for the most part, actually gave birth to a lot of these left independent channels, right? David Pakman, who no longer is left and is straight up Biden shill, actually started under TYT. Secular Talk was affiliate, again, another TYT affiliate. Humanist Report was a TYT affiliate, and the list goes on and on. So TYT for the longest time in this space was basically the mouthpiece for progressive issues. And any channel that chose to speak about progressive issues in such a way, it was almost like you had to get the approval of TYT before you moved forward on any type of project. They were the gatekeepers of left independent media. We experienced this personally at RBN. Our first year, we did a summit called the General Strike Summit. Now, we were Fred Hampton leftists at that point. That was before we changed our name. It was those TYT affiliate people like Hassan Piker. Some of these people I'd never even heard of before, coming after us, saying that we didn't follow the proper channels. We didn't go through the proper step. The fuck do you mean? It's our network. It's our show. We can talk about whatever we want. This idea on the left that everything had to go through TYT first because they were the big left channel in this space. So they're gatekeepers. So this same message that Anna is about to complain about in reference to the left, it was her and Cenk Uygur who made it that way. Let's go on.
This was an unexpected outcome that I was talking to my husband about just last night. I've been a lot happier lately, like a lot happier. And I think it's because once you actually, and look, I want to make the distinction and like draw out a caveat. I'm not talking about like far right, like militia members. I'm not talking about those people. I'm talking about just mainstream conservatives, Republicans, whatever. Once you actually understand what their arguments are or where they're coming from, it's a lot more difficult to be hyperbolic about things, right?
Yeah.
Didn't Jimmy Dore say that? Didn't Jimmy Dore say that? But when Jimmy Dore said it, Anna Kasparian spent years smearing Jimmy Dore. He's not left anymore. He's right wing. But it's okay for her to say it. Mm-hmm.
And so you kind of start seeing the world around you for what it really is. And there's a certain amount of fear that kind of starts to dissipate, a certain amount of like hyperbolic thinking that starts to go away. And you start to see things a lot more clearly. And the world isn't as messed up as people would have you believe. And that's a good thing. Now, some people might get super offended at me saying that because they've completely bought into the hyperbolic thinking and they think the world's coming to an end. And there are terrible things happening. I don't want to minimize that. But we need to be realistic about what's actually transpiring in the country. And for areas where we need improvement or different policy solutions, we should actually have good faith debates about it and come up with those solutions.
No, you need to do those things. You see, Anna needs to do those things. Everything the things you hear her say in this interview, these things have been said already. She's late. You see, now she realized, okay, maybe it's okay. It's acceptable for me to come forward and say these things now. Now that she sees that the populist position is more mainstream. So here is Anna telling you, oh, maybe we should talk to people when it comes to the class issue, regardless if they're on the right or not. Haven't people been saying that for years? So I question if she's serious.
And I think that the current discourse is standing in the way of that.
Mm-hmm. That's really fast. I never thought about that but it makes perfect sense if, people go into politics when they have this very like the other side is either composed of like all racists who want to enable, some kind of fascistic regime against me, or like the other side is all made of like, communists who want to take over the country. Like it's going to put you in this headspace. You're like, oh my God, like I'm in this fight for my life. Like this is like the most important thing ever. And then you're like, well, once you start to see like, well, yeah, there's small pockets of that exist, but the average person is not that. You're like, oh my God, this weight has been lifted from my shoulder. I don't feel like the world is about to end.
Yeah.
Let me just pause here for a second and just say, again, it was their network. It was the TYT network that created that type of mindset. They were the ones that created that type of thinking. They were the ones that would call people stupid and idiots and all those type of things. If you didn't agree, you weren't exactly on board with them at every single freaking issue. They were the ones who started that. And then other people who were affiliates of those networks did the same thing. You could literally go on Humanist Report. You could literally go on Secular Talk, see the same damn videos, same damn stories, just two different people. Same thing coming from TYT. It's the same stories. It was the same narrative. They started it. So Anna has no room to be mad at anyone but herself. It's not like she joined TYT like years later. No. Remember, she was Jimmy's boss. Who have been the main anchors on the show? It was Anna and Cenk, right? Let's go on.
Yeah, totally.
I want to say two things. First of all, and I don't know your take on Jordan Peterson, but it is like the first rule is tell the truth.
We're going to skip the Jordan Peterson part. See, what kills me is the thing about that is that they'll be okay with having a discussion with Jordan Peterson, but they won't have a discussion with anyone to the left of them. That's something you'll notice about these types, right? The Anna Kasparians, the David Doles, the Mike Figueredos, they're fine with talking to someone like Jordan Peterson, also because Jordan Peterson is going to give them a lot of views and subscribers, right? But they don't want to talk to someone who's a communist. They don't want to talk to someone who's a Marxist. They don't want to talk to people who are to the left of them. And people need to start asking that question. Why is that?
Again, I might not agree with everything he has to say, but he's a thoughtful person, and he is not in any way justifying, white supremacy or some of the like hyperbolic things that he might.
But that's not what you said on TYT. This shit is hilarious to me. It's hilarious considering the fact that people have said the exact same thing that she just said about Jordan Peterson, and she smeared those people.
Get accused of by those on the left. And again, it's really about understanding in good faith the other side and being able to, I guess, debate the issues, as opposed to like what I see happening right now is I want the left to engage in the argument, as opposed to what I see happening, which is them engaging in like ad hominem in a lot of cases, character assassination, or like statements about the individual's character based on their preconceived notions and based on what they heard other streamers say about the individual. It's like, okay, just take a step back for a second. You need to address the point that this person is making. And if you're not.
Your network, her network, TYT, started that behavior. They started the behavior with the character assassinations. Come on, you guys were taking pictures of women's freaking camel toes, for God's sake. You started character assassinations. That started with your network. And now you want to sit back and you want to point fingers at other people as if you did not have a part in this. Not only did you have a part in it, you led it. You led that. So don't go sit back now and wash your hands and pretend like your hands are clean. Your hands are not clean. Your hands are dirty. And let me tell you what I think is happening here with her and Cenk. They're sitting back and they're like, we may have some competition now that Breaking Points has reached 1 million subscribers. Rising's still doing its thing. It's not as popular as it was when it was Crystal and Saga, but still, Rising is still getting the views and kind of doing its thing. We may have to start to talk to people who are not just Democrats. That's where they bring in someone like Matt Gaetz. That's where he came in. That's where all these people. So they see what's happening, right? They see that their views are going down at TYT. So don't be surprised if they try to make some type of pivot so that they can kind of feed off some of that Breaking Points audience, so that they can get some of the people on the right and some of the people on the left, and they can kind of feed off of that. Because for TYT to have over 5 million subscribers, their views don't make no sense to me. And I told you last year when we went through the analytics, it was really interesting to me that for like 90 days, they didn't gain one subscriber. You have 5 million subscribers and you didn't gain one sub for 90 days. That's what I think is happening. This is about money. I don't believe for 1 second that this is about Anna having some coming to Jesus revelation moment. I don't think that has anything to do with it. I think this is about money, and I think this is about a way for them to get more subscribers and more views.
Not addressing the point that this person is making, and instead you're turning around and throwing all sorts of like accusations at them to make them seem like they're immoral or they're bad people, then that tells me that you don't really have an answer to what they're saying, you know? And I see that happening more when it comes to culture war related issues as opposed to economic issues. And that's the other thing. I mean, I think that the left has completely, and they'll deny this, but I mean, just go to Twitter right now. They've like abandoned economic policies and instead hyper-focused on incredibly divisive, like identity related issues, right?
Y'all do that shit. Y'all do that shit, man. Give me a break.
Yeah.
And
Right.
yeah. And like their take is always, oh, well, the other side wants us they're racist, that's why. They're
Yeah.
transphobic, that's why. And it's like, no, you got to do more than that. So if you're going to
That's your take. That's TYT's take. That's the take that they use this over and over again.
if you're going to refute what they're saying, then actually address the points they're making. And if you're not going to do that, you're going to come out looking incredibly weak and childish.
You probably don't know this, but we talk about MMT and UBI on the stream quite often. And it drives people crazy. I mean, how do you make affordable housing sexy? It's like, it's not necessarily a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, it's surprising because I did a story just last Wednesday on Airbnb crashing.
I watched that vid. Yeah.
Yeah. And that video, I'm kind of shocked. It got like 200,000 views. It was not something I expected. I thought like, oh, it's a dense, like statistics driven, video, but it did.
That's a damn lie. She knows they're going to get a certain amount of views because, like I told you about a week ago, TYT is a network, is a channel within YouTube. They're not like me. They're not like, RBN. They're not like Hardlands Media. They actually are a channel within YouTube so that they are a part of the corporate algorithm. That's why they were able to get so many subs, because they're pushed to the top of the algorithm with the corporate news. So here she is pretending like, oh yeah, I was just so shocked and da-da. Bitch, please, okay? Like, y'all been on the corporate algorithm for years. That's how you got those subscribers. That's how you got those damn views. Let's just stop pretending here and act like you had to struggle like us regular folk, because you did not.
Well, and I think that there is a hunger for those types of videos and for that type of content. It's not going to go super viral like some hyperbolic, video about like a police shooting or about an alleged Karen, right? But I don't really care. Like I just look, I don't want to be part of the problem. I don't want to add to this toxic discourse that does nothing to improve anyone's life. And I
Oh my God. If that isn't the pot calling the kettle.
feel like I've been engaging in that and I feel embarrassed about it. And that's really where I'm coming from. I want to get people healthcare. I want to get people housing. Those are the issues that matter. Okay.
Well,
if you wanted to get people healthcare, how come you didn't promote the marches for Medicare for all that we had in over 50 cities across this country? How come you didn't promote that, Anna? TYT didn't promote it. You know who did promote it? Jimmy Dore did. And you smeared him. You were too busy smearing him, calling him right wing, calling him a grifter and all this bish. But here it was, every time there was an action, whether it was a Julian Assange event, whether it was a policing event the week, if you reached out to Jimmy and said, can you promote this? Jimmy would bring the organizers on to promote it and not just read it in some, tagline or whatever. You guys didn't even promote the shit. And I know that because I was on the organizing team when those marches happened. Everybody was contacted. But you really want to get people Medicare for all. Girl, bye.
In order to do that, you kind of have to work with Republicans. And that's where I think this stereotype of Republicans as evil racists is ultimately not helpful in the end. If you want health care, you can't work with the evil racists to get health care done. You just can't do it.
Well, I mean, it's hilarious because, okay, let's put healthcare aside for a second, because here's the other thing. The far left will push ideas that are not popular with the general public, right?
Yeah.
Notice she says the far left, which she is not consider herself to be a part of. This is the point I've been trying to make before. Will push ideas that are not popular with the general public. Okay. Now see Anna showing her class and her ass. And let me tell you why. There are a lot of issues that were pushed in this country by a minority, small group of people that were not popular at that point in time. The civil rights movement at that time was not popular. MLK at that time was not popular. Defund the police, we talked about this, for the most part, was not popular. But see, what people like Anna and the TYTs want to do, they don't want to leave the comfort of their own home. I don't never see them out in the streets. Okay? You got people protesting on strike right now in Los Angeles. You're in California. You guys are there. I don't see you guys out there with mics in your hand interviewing the workers who are on strike. I don't see it happening. And you got way more resources than we do at RBN or than I do. I get out on the damn street with the phone, with the cell phone. Okay? They got camera equipment. They have producers. They have studio. I don't have any of that. So you see, it's just, for me, it's like the laziness. I can't buy it. I'll never see you out there in the streets trying to fight for these people or interview these damn people who are pushing these issues that you say are not popular. And that's a big part of the problem. They don't want to leave the comfort of their home. They are comfortable. People like Anna and Cenk are comfortable. They say they want to fight for working class issues. I'll never see them talking to no working class people. They sit right in the comfy studio, scared of the same damn people. So get out of here. Like, this is an absolute mess.
So I think that protecting, marginalized communities, protecting the transgender community is important. However, when you move out of or move far away from making sure that they are not denied housing, making sure that they're not denied healthcare, when you move into like these more fringe areas of there was a story out of the UK this week, blows my mind.
Let's pause here for just a second because I want to say something about protecting marginalized communities and these LGBT communities, right? How often do you see them interact with people from these marginalized communities that they think need so much protection? How often do you see them go into the hood? I don't see them out on Skid Row feeding people and clothing people and talking to people. I've seen CJ on Skid Row. I've seen Rome on Skid Row. How often do you see them interact with these people that need this protection? They want to interact with the people in their class. They don't want to put themselves in a position where they're going to be uncomfortable, particularly Anna Kasparian.
There was an LGBTQ group in the UK who suggested that instead of referring to vaginas as vaginas, because it might be offensive to transgender men, one of the potential replacements or substitutes could be bonus hole.
Oh, no. Bonus hole?
Yeah, bonus hole. And listen, people don't like this stuff, okay? They might not be on Twitter talking about how much they dislike this stuff, but on average, every normie woman I've talked to is like, I can't stand this stuff, right?
Who is a normie woman? Because this is what I think. I think when Anna says people don't like this stuff, I think Anna is talking about herself. It's like the friend that you have, you're at a party and you're like, oh yeah, where did you hear that from? Well, people say, well, actually they say that such and such. Who's they? Who are the people that are saying these things? I really think this is how she feels. But using the term people or they, it's easier. Yes, there may be other people that feel that way, but again, I think this is how she feels.
So what Jake and I recently talked about it. I think we talked about it in the context of, trans athletes or whatever. And it was, hey, we got to be a little more strategic, because if you do this, if you start pushing the mainstream Democratic Party to run their campaigns on these fringe issues, they might not get reelected, or they might not get elected at all if they're running against a Republican in a district.
Pause. Have you noticed she's using the same vocabulary that the Democrat establishment has been using in reference to RFK Jr. and Marianne Williamson and Cornel West? Fringe. I told you they fringe, spoiler, and define it. What issues do you consider to be fringe? Maybe that's just what she considers to be a fringe issue. To other people, it may not be a fringe issue. But again, the idea is that they're using the word fringe as though it is something that is bad. And I've said this before, to some people, fringe is not a bad thing. But they're telling you, or they want you to believe that it should be.
And the response, and it's the same response we got when we made the same point about the stupid prison abolition movement, is we don't care. We don't care. This is the right thing to do. We don't care. And it's like, well, okay. But then you...
Hold on one second. See, this is where she shows her class. Watch this.
They might not get reelected, or they might not get elected at all if they're running against a Republican in a district. And the...
So what? You should only run on an issue if you know for sure it's going to help you get reelected. If you don't know for sure, you should not champion that issue. You shouldn't run on that issue. Forget what you believe. She wants to take the easy way out. Listen to this part.
The response, and it's the same response we got when we made the same point about the stupid prison abolition movement.
The stupid prison abolition movement. Didn't Olami Aloran come on to TYT and have this discussion with Anna Kasparian and Cenk Uygur face to face and explain to them what prison abolition means? And Anna didn't seem to think it was stupid during that conversation. She didn't say the word stupid once, but now that you're off the screen with someone who is a prison abolitionist, and now you're just talking to two people who obviously are not, now it's okay for you to call it stupid. See, this is how she really feels. This is what she really thinks. This is Anna showing her class. At the end of the day, that TYT facade, the Anna Kasparians, the Cenk Uygur, as much as they have preached over the years about the working class people and minority rights and all that jazz and all that, and reforming the justice system and all that, at the end of the day, they don't want to be in contact with these people who are fighting for those issues. At the end of the day, they are never going to leave their comfortable seat that they have right now to push any type of message that is not popular, because they want to do what is easy. They don't want to do what's difficult. They don't want to have to fight. They want to take the easier path that's going to give them money. That's what they want to do. I don't know how anybody can listen to this and still sit up here and say, yeah, they're the left, they're progressive. I don't see how anyone can say this now. Like, really? Wake up, people. She letting you know.
Is we don't care. We don't care. This is the right thing to do. We don't care. And it's like, oh, okay. But then you complain about what Republicans are doing in various red states. So do you want more Republicans to get elected? And do you want more of these, look, I think that...
No, you complain about what Republicans are doing in those states. You're the ones complaining about Republicans all the damn time. You go on TYT's network. What do you see? I don't really care what Ben Shapiro said, boo. I know who Ben Shapiro cares. I don't know who care about Dave Rubin, Ben Shapiro. I don't care about none of these people. I already know where they stand. We know their issues and their ideology. But if you go look on their channel, it's Republican. Why are you going to tell me something that the rest of us already know? I don't care about that. They care about that. That's what they've been talking about. That's what Anna has been talking about.
That some of these laws that have been passed in various red states, for instance, banning gender affirming care for adults, between the ages of 18 to 25. I think that's wrong. I think adults should be able to make a decision about their own bodies. I do think that there is a worthwhile debate when it comes to, hormone blockers and cross-sex hormones for children. And we should have that debate in good faith. But I don't want the pendulum to swing far to the right. I would venture to say the left feels the same way, except I'm not so sure. Because to them, going...
Oh my God. Oh my God. It's just, it's disastrous for me. It really is.
On Twitter and patting themselves on the back for being the most pure is more important to them than strategy. It's more important to them than actually accomplishing the policies that they claim to want to accomplish.
The strategy that has been pushed by TYT has not accomplished policies. The strategy that the Justice Democrats, which was co-founded by Cenk Uygur, that strategy that has been pushed by TYT, what have we won? The reason why a lot of these people came after RBN and Heartlands Media and all these, and Indie News Network and all these other networks that have been heavily criticizing what these so-called progressives have been doing is because they knew that when you look at it on the national level, we didn't win anything. Progressive laws have been passed on the local level, boo. Some of the things that people ran on, the millionaire tax, the $15 minimum wage, those policies have been passed on the local level. Legalizing marijuana, not on the national level. So the strategy that Anna Kasparian and Cenk Uygur have been pushing for the past couple years hasn't accomplished a damn thing when it comes to policies. So why should I even listen to them about strategy when you've been losing? You know, that's like me if I was, you know, a coach from the New England Patriots. If I was Bill Belichick and they reassigned me to the Browns, am I going to listen to the Browns about strategy? Hell to the no. When the last time y'all won? Come on, people, put two and two together.
Time I make that point, they'll be like, oh, but you don't even know. There are people on the ground, activists on the ground working hard to make this happen. And it's like, I mean, I'm not blind. I see what's happening in the country right now. So
No, you are blind and you don't see what's happening. You stay in your cozy little comfy bubble. I never see you. Like I said, the next time you see her out in the street, you guys let me know. I ain't never see her out in the street with no camera in her damn hand. I ain't never see her out there at no damn protest talking to these activists who are actually out there fighting for things. I saw you sit behind a desk and that's it.
You can tell me about, you know, your imaginary on the ground activists making real change happen as we speak, but I'm not buying it.
Mm-hmm.
So you see how she talks about the activists? She said imaginary. She's not buying it. The same people that she's never even spoken to. The reason why she's not buying it is because she doesn't see it happen on a national level. So therefore she dismisses it. A lot of the activism and organizing happens on the local level. If she actually talked to people who are activists and organizers, she'd understand that. If she got her ass up out her seat and actually walked around and talked to people in the community, she would actually see that. But she's not going to do that because she is lazy. She is going to do what is easy. They are the gatekeepers and they continue to push this narrative. So when you hear these other channels make these comments like, nobody's doing anything, you guys aren't out there doing anything. And the same way that they can pull up tweets where someone is criticizing another podcaster, the same goddamn way they can pull up a tweet about a general strike summit, about the labor summit, about CJ feeding people on Skid Row, about me interviewing people getting kicked out their fucking homes because developers have bought their apartment communities. They see those damn tweets too. They choose not to mention it because they are following the path of people like Anna Kasparian and Cenk Uygur, that TYT gatekeeping philosophy of not pushing, promoting any type of organizing, any type of mutual aid or activism efforts. And some of those goddamn people who are doing that have been on our fucking show when we had those platforms. Don't let me go back through the videos. I can call all their asses out. But now all of a sudden they don't remember. Now, all of a sudden, some of those same people want to say, I never see them do anything. Use a damn lie. Because they know that if that message gets out to too many people, that could hurt people like TYT. That could hurt people like Secular Talk. Oh, I'm calling it all out. That could hurt some of these channels because then some of their audience members will look at them and say, how come you guys ain't doing anything? How come you not taking the platform that you have and getting out in the streets and helping the damn people? How come you ain't at any of these Julian Assange rallies? How come I don't see you at any of these protests? How come I don't see you out there with the police abolitionists? Why aren't you bringing the Medicare for All activists on the damn show? How come I didn't see you talk to these people? That's why they do it. And they'll never come on and say that shit to me. Okay? So there's a reason why you don't see me on there.
So it is what it is. And they can get as offended as they want. They can get as upset as they want. I don't really care. I'm not.
She doesn't care. And she don't. Her, Sam Cedar said the same thing. He don't care. They don't care. They're comfy, bourgeoisie, PMC. They do not want to do anything. Period. They want to sit in the air-conditioned studio. They don't want to chase down people for interviews out in the street. They don't care. So the same person who just sat here and told you that we need to protect these marginalized communities, she just told you she don't care. She don't care about the activists. She don't care about your damn community, okay? Anna's going to be in spaces where she feels comfortable and she don't feel comfortable around people like you. Take that to the street.
Not a mouthpiece for anyone, any political party, any political group. My obligation is to share the facts of the story with my audience to the best of my ability, and then do good faith analysis on those stories. And if they don't like my analysis, they can make whatever decision they want about whether they support or watch the show. And that's why I say I might be engaging in a little bit of self-sabotage, because I don't know what the outcome of all of this is going to be. You know, there is no big play here. I'm not leaving TYT. I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. And
exactly, because you're comfortable. I told you she's not going to put herself in a position to be uncomfortable.
I don't know what the outcome will eventually be, to be honest.
Hi, you just listened.
So let me tell you something, guys, and I'll just keep it real. This is the woman complaining. Now, she deleted this, but screenshots are a motherfucker. Nick retweeted this and said, all the TYT stands who used to call Jimmy Dore and everyone else right-wingers look dumb right now. Anna tweeted this. The civil rights movement did not use the same strategies as the trans movement. They didn't barricade speakers they disagreed with in a classroom for 3 hours. They persuaded through nonviolence and showing America their humanity. You scroll down, this tweet has been deleted. This is terrible. This is terrible. Like, think about this for a second, guys. We're just going to forget all the sit-ins. She's talking about one aspect of the civil rights movement, the nonviolent part. There were other parts that were not nonviolent, Anna. So we're just going to sit here and pretend like there were no barricades. There was none of this. It was all peaceful. It wasn't all peaceful. Even MLK said so himself towards the end, that he looked back on it and maybe there were times where they should not have been peaceful, he said. The civil rights movement also was not just MLK. There were multiple civil rights activists and people had different methods that they used. But this is the woman who's telling you, for a long time in this space, People have been getting their message. They have been led by the Anna Kasparians, the Sam Cedars. For the longest time, most of the commentators in left independent media were white men. Let's keep it real. And they were educating people about civil rights. Look, what the fuck is this? And people didn't have other voices that could actually say, hey, this is actually incorrect. These were the ones leading the narrative. And you wonder why the left is so damn lost. Let's stop sitting here and pretend like it was all peaceful. It was not all peaceful. This is a way for Anna to again show you that she don't want to have to fight, and you don't really have to fight or do any activism either. Because they don't really want anything to change. You guys get that though, right? They want little reforms here and there. They don't really want anything to change though. They don't want a complete overhaul. They don't want to talk about defund the police or prison abolition because they want the police to protect them and their wealthy communities. Let's go to that point. Okay. So the cult-like behavior, this is interesting. Is Anna right? Does the left have cult-like behavior? 75% said yes, 13% said no, and 12% said not sure. And what I would add to this, that's 957 votes, what I would add to this is that TYT created that behavior. So she has no one to blame but herself.